Hi, I'm Stephen Blue. It's my privilege to be the youth pastor here at Lifeline Community, and we're excited that you're considering joining our youth leadership team. So we want to make sure our primary goal is to honor the Lord as we serve students, and we're going to basically now just dive into some policies about how to do that safely. Two primary first steps. One is the background check form we'll get going for you so we can get that all checked out. And then secondly is that you would just visit, hang out with us on Wednesday night youth group a couple times to see if it's really the next step you want to take as far as joining us. So with those two steps in mind, we'll then begin to get into the actual formal policies. Policy number 1 is definitely appropriate monitoring and supervision of students. We're the adults. We want to make sure we keep them safe in all kinds of ways. One story I remember had to do with a camp trip, summer camp for youth. We were driving back, 15-passenger van. In the very back of the van is like 3 or 4 students of mixed genders, all cuddled up, trying to sleep. Pretty innocent, probably, most likely, but that's an issue we couldn't have. It was a bunch of guys and girls cuddling up together. So first gas station stop, got out, had to tell them, pull them aside and say, guys, I can't have you doing that. And they understood, but the basic idea there is, in general, in all areas, we kind of got to be constantly monitoring, watching kids for safety, things they may not be thinking about that we have to be thinking about. We want to build those solid relationships with them, but we have to keep them safe by monitoring at all times in everything we're doing in youth ministry. All right, next we're going to talk about everybody's favorite subject, physical touch. So we just want to make sure we keep these interactions with students short and sweet. I have, in my years in youth ministry, seen at times where there was nothing like malicious involved, but where adults and students would have long, lingering hugs, and that's just awkward. We don't want to do that. We want to be above reproach when it comes to physical touch. So basically, what we want to keep in mind are high fives, fist bumps, side hugs, things of that nature. We want to affirm kids, but we want to be careful with that physical touch aspect of things. Additionally, we want to just keep them safe. Sometimes kids want to play like tackle football even, for example, and although in many contexts that's totally fine, here at youth group and youth ministry activities, we can't really do that. We have to be above reproach as far as keeping kids physically safe and the physical touch involved. So with that in mind, let's move on to our next topic.
There should be 2 leaders present whenever students are hanging out together. Especially if there's a big group of boys and girls hanging out, there should ideally be a boy and a girl leader present as well.
The other thing we want to keep in mind is no individual interaction alone as far as a leader of one gender with the opposite gender. So for example, no male leaders alone with female students. I want to protect against that. The other thing I want to let you guys know about is discipleship and mentoring. Often those are done with small groups of students, but occasionally circumstances will arise where it has to be like a male leader discipling, mentoring a male student, and that's okay. We just want to be sure, if at all possible, to do those in public spaces or never alone in a home or a student's home. And the other thing to keep in mind there is just making sure we're very much communicating with the parents about those interactions and timelines and all of that kind of stuff. So next we're going to talk about driving situations with youth leaders. We do a lot of events, so we got to do a lot of transporting. One thing we want to keep in mind is adult leaders who drive have to have a valid driver's license, not expired, good insurance, proof of insurance, and kind of a clean driving record. So keep that in mind with youth leaders who drive. Additionally, as we do transportation and things like that, we want to make sure we're texting or calling parents, letting them know the timelines of when we're leaving certain locations. That just keeps everyone safe and informed. And then lastly, along those lines, when you're driving students to events, you may have mixed genders in the car, but you never want to be alone, like a male leader with a female student in the car driving. That never needs to happen. Even if that means going way out of your way to a different part of town to drop off a certain student of a certain gender first, it may be a little more inconvenient, but it just, again, keeps everybody safe when we're transporting students. All right, next we want to talk about communicating with the students. So we live in a great time where communication's readily available in a variety of ways, which is awesome, and we want to build good relationships with students, point them to Christ. But we always need to first make sure we have parental permission before we start those communication interactions with the students, whether it be through email, text, phone call, social media even, really. So contact the parents first, make sure it's okay, and then also you want to keep the parents regularly informed, even if it's screenshots of text messages, just so they're in the loop on what's going on there. Additionally, if there's ever any disciplinary action that needs to take place, most things can be just redirected. General redirection with kids, remind them to be on point with their behavior and stuff. But if things get beyond that, we want to first contact the parents, make sure they're letting us know how they want us to proceed. And in really rare circumstances, if they need to come and pick up their student, we can do that as well. All right, well, thanks for watching so far. We're almost done, just a couple more things. And the first one has to do with medical emergencies. So if they're ever at a youth event in any way and something, a student is harmed physically, probably you're gonna need to call 911, but first we need to call the parents and get their permission, because there can be certain legal implications at stake for the church if we don't do that. So we'll just need to call the parents first, then we can dial 911 and get the attention. And so I know that time is of the essence in those situations, so we may need 2 leaders working at the same time, but just keep that in mind. And then lastly, with regard to anything a student, I mean, one of the privileges we have is students sharing their lives with us, and so there may be instances where they share something that could be potentially criminal, and we want to be very careful and sensitive with that, obviously. So we'll need to go first to our executive pastor, inform him immediately, and then he will help us take the right steps to inform the appropriate authorities and get that kind of help. Really appreciate your willingness to want to be a youth leader and serve Jesus in that way, and thanks so much for watching this video.